I bet you didn't know the government once logged UFOs like weather reports. It sounds like a line from a movie, but for over 2 decades, a dedicated branch of the U.S. Air Force did just that. They collected, cataloged, and investigated thousands of reports from across the country, creating a secret history hidden in plain sight. This isn't a story about little green men. It's a story about a government grappling with the unknown. A story that begins in the dusty archives of the past and leads directly to the halls of Congress today. The modern American UFO story arguably ignites on June 24, 1947. Private pilot Kenneth Arnold, flying near Mount Rainier, witnessed 9 brilliantly bright objects flying in a formation at speeds he calculated to be over 1,200 miles per hour, a velocity unheard of for any known aircraft at the time. When he described their movement as being like a saucer skipping across water, the press coined a term that would define an era: flying saucers. Arnold's sighting opened the floodgates. Suddenly, reports were pouring in from all over the nation. And then, just a few weeks later, came Roswell. The headline from the local paper was sensational. RAF captures flying saucer on ranch in Roswell region. The military's initial press release seemed to confirm the public's wildest speculations. But within 24 hours, the story was completely reversed. The debris wasn't from a sophisticated craft, they claimed, but from a common weather balloon. For many, this rapid retraction felt less like a correction and more like a cover-up, planting a seed of distrust that would blossom for decades. The story's wilder than fiction. Ready to see how it all connects? Start with the files. In response to the surge of sightings, the Air Force launched a series of studies, beginning with Project Sign in 1947, then Project Grudge, and finally, the most famous of all, Project Blue Book, which ran from 1952 to 1969. Its official mandate was twofold: to determine if unidentified flying objects posed a threat to national security, and to scientifically analyze UFO-related data. Project Blue Book logs documented over 12,618 sightings. Investigators, led for a time by astronomer Dr. J. Allen Hynek, sifted through an avalanche of evidence. They interviewed commercial and military pilots who reported seeing structured craft performing impossible maneuvers. They analyzed ground and air radar blips that tracked objects moving at hypersonic speeds, sometimes stopping on a dime or making right-angle turns that would crush any human pilot. They examined photographs, film reels, and even alleged physical fragments. The methodology was intended to be rigorous, aiming to explain away sightings as known phenomena. In the end, Project Blue Book concluded that the vast majority of sightings were misidentifications of natural phenomena like stars and meteors or conventional aircraft. However, 701 cases remained officially unidentified. Despite this, the government-sponsored Condon Committee report in 1968 declared that UFO studies were unlikely to yield major scientific discoveries, leading to Blue Book's termination in 1969. For the public, the book was closed, but the questions remained. To understand the UFO phenomenon, you have to understand the era. The Cold War was a time of intense paranoia and technological secrecy. The skies were a new battlefield, and both the US and the Soviet Union were racing to develop next-generation aircraft. Many sightings from the 1950s and 60s, particularly those from airline pilots, can now be attributed to classified projects like the U-2 and SR-71 Blackbird spy planes. These aircraft flew at altitudes and speeds far beyond what was publicly known, and their silver bodies would reflect the sun, appearing as fiery orbs to observers below. The CIA later admitted that over half of all UFO reports from the late 1950s and 1960s were likely sightings of these spy planes. The need for national security created a perfect breeding ground for UFO mythology. The government couldn't admit these secret planes existed, so they allowed, and perhaps even encouraged, the flying saucer narrative as a convenient cover story. For decades, the topic went quiet, relegated to the fringe. Then, in 2017, everything changed. The New York Times published a bombshell report revealing the existence of a secret Pentagon program, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or AATIP. Jump forward, declassified memos and stunning videos were released to the public. These weren't grainy amateur photos. This was high-resolution infrared footage captured by the Navy's most advanced fighter jets. The videos, with code names like FLIR-1, Gimbal, and Go Fast, showed unidentified objects performing maneuvers that defied our understanding of physics. In one, the infamous Tic Tac object, witnessed by FA-18 pilots from the USS Nimitz carrier group in 2004, descended 80,000 feet in less than a second. That viral Pentagon report changed the conversation overnight. Then came the whistleblower interviews. High-ranking officials like Lou Elizondo, the former head of UAP, and intelligence officer David Grush began speaking out, alleging that the government was concealing not just data, but retrieved craft of non-human origin. These claims, made under oath in some cases, added a new explosive dimension to the story. So, what are we actually seeing in these modern videos? Skeptics and analysts point to several plausible terrestrial explanations. Is it tech? Absolutely. But is it alien tech? That's a different question. One leading theory involves sensor artifacts and software glitches. The advanced sensor pods on these jets are incredibly complex, and they can sometimes create ghosts in the machine. Illusions caused by software, atmospheric distortion, or unexpected reflections. Then there's the issue of misidentified aircraft or drones. In a cluttered airspace, it's possible that even expert pilots could mistake a novel type of drone, a weather balloon, or even a flock of birds for something more exotic, especially when viewed on a two-dimensional screen from miles away. The gimbal video's rotation, for instance, has been compellingly argued by skeptics to be an artifact of the sensor's gimbal mechanism combined with glare, not the object itself rotating. However, the unidentified column persists. The 2021 preliminary assessment on UAPs from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence analyzed 144 incidents. They could confidently identify only one as a large, deflating balloon. The other 143 remained unexplained, with the report stating that they probably lack a single explanation. So is it misidentified aircraft? Sometimes. Sensor errors? Plausible. Or something else entirely. The data is inconclusive. This ambiguity has forced a monumental shift in official policy. The stigma that shut down Project Blue Book is gone. Today, strange sightings trigger serious agency meetings instead of late-night jokes. In 2022, the Pentagon established the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, a successor to UAP, with a broader mandate to synchronize efforts across the government to detect, identify, and attribute these objects. Congress has held public and classified hearings, demanding transparency from the Department of Defense and the intelligence community. New legislation has been passed to create secure reporting channels for military and civilian pilots, encouraging them to come forward without fear of ridicule or career damage. The official stance is no longer one of dismissal, but of national security concern. The government isn't saying it's aliens, but they are saying it's something they don't understand, and that in itself is a historic admission. This entire saga has unfolded against a backdrop of cultural fascination. From the Cold War anxieties reflected in films like Invasion of the Body Snatchers to the hopeful curiosity of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Hollywood has shaped our vision of extraterrestrial contact. TV shows like The X-Files tapped into the post-Roswell distrust of government, popularizing the idea that the truth is out there, but it's being hidden from us. This cultural lens is powerful. It can fuel public interest and demand for answers. But it can also lead us to see sinister conspiracies where there might only be bureaucratic incompetence or mundane explanations. The Archive to Now trail doesn't give easy answers. It reveals a complex tapestry of genuine mystery, government secrecy, technological evolution, and cultural projection. We've journeyed from grainy photos and handwritten logs to high-definition sensor data and congressional hearings. The one undeniable truth is the shift in official posture. The journey shows how seriously America now takes the unknown. The conversation will continue, driven by new data, new whistleblowers, and new analysis. The key is to approach it with a healthy dose of skepticism, but also an open mind. If you want more deep dives into these complex mysteries and the hidden corners of history, Subscribe to Timelines and like the video. Let's keep digging.